to OHRPP's Learn at Lunch. Today's topic is how to submit new studies in BruinIRB. So today we will provide a brief overview of the new application requirements, and we will discuss some of the application's features as we go through a live demonstration of creating a new study application together. We will try our best to create a new application that closely resembles a standard investigator-initiated trial. The primary purpose of the demonstration is to highlight the application's features, show where to upload certain documents, and to point out some of the similarities and differences between WebIRB and BruinIRB. Please note that we are demonstrating a new study application, but this particular BruinIRB application will not be available to you all until our phase 2 launch in September, but we wanted to get ahead and show you what it is to expect. There may be and there will be some changes from what you see here, but they should be very minimal, but we want to introduce you to the phase 2 new study application. So after this session, all registrants, regardless of attendance, will receive a link to this recorded session. We will not send out slides since the purpose of today's session is a live demonstration, but we will make sure that you all do receive the link to the training that will be posted on our OHRPP YouTube channel. You will also receive a link to our OHRPP feedback survey. That survey is not required, but it's very beneficial to us to help us continue to improve our trainings and offerings to you all. Additionally, if you have any questions that were not answered, or if you think of something after this session, you can feel free to utilize the survey link and fill out any questions that you may have that were not answered today. And although we are recording today's session, we will eventually have a more comprehensive video and accompanying quick guides that will later be posted on our YouTube channel. But for now, this is what we will have and try to go through the information, but we will have an abundance of resources for you all that will be available to you before our phase 2 launch. So prior to creating a new BruinIRB application, you'll want to confirm that all individuals that will be listed on the study have completed the appropriate city training. Just as WebIRB had automatic city training checks, BruinIRB also has a similar feature as well. So for individuals who do not have completed city training, you will not be able to submit your application. So please try to get that started as soon as possible and be reminded of that. In addition to individuals listed needing city training, everyone who will be listed on the study will also need a BruinIRB account. Only individuals with BruinIRB accounts will be able to be searched within the BruinIRB system as you're adding study personnel. So if you're trying to add someone and you're unable to find their name, it is likely because they do not have a BruinIRB account. So any individual with an existing WebIRB account will also have an active BruinIRB account automatically without having to request one. All individuals who do not have a BruinIRB account will need to request an account. We do recommend testing out your single sign-in login when trying to attempt to log into BruinIRB first before requesting a new account. Also, a few weeks ago, Moore introduced everyone to the OHRPP protocol templates and protocol supplements. Unlike WebIRB, BruinIRB is a protocol-based submission platform, so each application will be required to upload a protocol with the application. Otherwise, BruinIRB will not allow the application to be submitted. So depending on your study design, you may need to complete the protocol supplements, even if you're if your existing protocol is lacking certain information that the UCLA IRB is required. Even if the study has an existing grant protocol, sponsor protocol, or investigator initiated protocol, there may be information that OHRPP requests that may not be included in your existing protocol, such as recruitment information. So WebIRB used to capture that information within the application, but BruinIRB does not capture the details of recruitment within the application. So you may need to complete that particular section in the OHRPP protocol template. And then depending on your study population, you may need to also, or study design, you may also need to complete specific protocol templates. But stay tuned for further guidance and access to the OHRPP protocol template and protocol supplement templates that will be available to you. You will receive notification when those will be available on the OHRPP website. In the meantime, go back and check out the recording of that video on protocol and protocol templates on our YouTube channel for more information and a sneak peek on what those will look like. So now we can go into the logistics of creating a new study application. When logging into the BruinIRB website, this is what you will see. You can log in by selecting either login buttons, either here on the left or here on the top right. For those of you who do not have a BruinIRB account, you can select this BruinIRB accounts button here, and it will provide you the details on how to request a BruinIRB account. But again, we highly suggest you testing the login and attempting to log in with your UCLA single sign-on information, and then only then, if that attempt fails, should you then proceed with looking up the information for requesting BruinIRB accounts. So let's say we're clicking this login button here. Then you'll be selected to log in via your UCLA single sign-on. Oh, you're not able to see the screen? Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me make sure that
I
you
can
are
see it.
seeing. Okay, someone in the chat said they were. Okay, perfect. All right. Once you select the login button, then you'll be prompted to enter your UCLA single sign-in button. And then now we will switch to the live demonstration portion so you can see what BruinIRB will look like after you have entered your UCLA single sign-on information. Before we get into that, really briefly, I'm sure someone may have a question about this. We currently do not have a sandbox or a test system for the broader UCLA research community to access, but just note that we will be providing you with sufficient videos and quick guides and information well in advance of the launch of the phase 2 application. So do not worry, you will have sufficient resources to have to help you navigate the system. And as you'll see, it's a little bit of a simpler application since it's protocol based, so there should be fewer places for you all to get stuck. And for the sake of this demonstration, we will plan to submit an investigator-initiated clinical trial comparing a drug and a device. And the purpose is not to submit a perfect application, but it's to help you navigate and prepare to submit a successful application. So, all right. Hopefully, everyone is able to see see the screen once you log in. So you'll be logging in. This is your dashboard. This is where you'll find a lot of your studies that are in progress or require your attention or that you've previously accessed, previously reviewed. We won't go into too much detail about that since the purpose of this session is to create a new study application, but there will be resources available forthcoming that will help you navigate the system and help you find and locate everything. But for now, we're going to create a new study. So we're going to select the create and then create new study. So upon logging in, you'll see that there's just a basic information page. So BruinIRB needs to collect some basic information about your study, which will then reveal additional sections. As we continue to move along, you'll see that additional sections are available. As you go on, you'll also note that here, if you exit out of this, like if you exit out of this before we complete it, you won't have a study there. But as you go along, you can select the save button. But as you move along through the application, BruinIRB does save your application. And then you can select continue once done. So let's get started with titling our study. So just as a note, this is your full title, which will appear on your approval notice. And then your short title is what you will see as you're on your dashboard looking over. So, and of course, we want to provide a brief description of our application. What kind of study is this? So if this is a multi-site study, you will select the first button. If this is a single site study, only activities will occur at UCLA. You'll select this one. So for the purpose of this, we'll select the single site. Then will an external IRB act as the IRB of record? For the purpose of this submission, no, we're assuming that all activities will occur here and UCLA is the only site. If the investigator does not meet the UCLA Policy 900 requirements and they require a faculty sponsor, this is where you can search for the person's name in the system and you can find them here. So again, they should be available if they have a BruinIRB account. If you cannot find their information here, then you'll most likely know that they need a BruinIRB account. But for the sake of this test study, we will assume that the PI here meets the UCLA Policy 900 requirements. This question is very specific. Before I go here, I want to go back really quick. If you do select multi-site, you will see that additional questions will appear. And so the numbers may change, but for this example, we're going to select a single study. So moving along, in this section here, this is where you're going to upload your study protocols and your protocol supplements. So in this example, I'm going to say that we do have a protocol. And so I'm going to upload that here. Let's say I need to change the name of the protocol and I will say, main protocol. And if you want to include a version number, you can. If you don't have to. Since I have a protocol supplement, I'm going to select OK and add another. But if this was the only document that I needed to upload, I can just press OK. So I'm going to select OK and add another to add my protocol supplement since I am accessing HIPAA covered records. I'm going to upload that protocol supplement here. And since those are the only two documents that I need to upload, I am done. So I can select OK. If I needed to cancel that and said no, I only need to upload one document, then I would click cancel, but that other document would still upload. So now you can see that the two documents are there. If I needed to update this during the process, I can select update and I can attach another version that would be essentially stacked on top. I'm going to cancel that. If I wanted to completely remove this document, I can select the X button and it would remove it. Moving along on this first page still, similar to WebIRB, BruinIRB is going to ask which committee you best matches your research. And for this demonstration, we'll say MIRB 1 matches. Ultimately, the IRB will determine which committee your research should be reviewed by. And then there is a conflict of interest question for the investigator. If you're not sure about anything or you're not sure what the question is asking you, we do have these help text bubbles here that you can select, and it'll give you more information about why this question is being asked or what information you will need to answer this question. So for this demonstration, I'm going to select no. And so you'll notice here, we just have this one section, but once we click continue, you'll see that additional sections will appear here. So as you're moving along the application, you have a couple of choices. So you can either skip to a section on this side, say if you're not ready to answer your funding questions, you can skip to a different section, or you can select the continue button and it will move you to the next section. So I'm going back to this next section that automatically popped up in the application. And so I'm going to say that the study is funded, but if there is no funding or it's departmental funding, you'll select the first option, and this will be the only question on this page. But if you do have funding, then additional questions will pop up. And so you'll need to identify each of your funding sources by selecting add. So if you do know the funding agency, you can start typing it up here and you'll see different options. But say, for example, your funding source is not here, you cannot identify it. So I'm going to type in another funding source. There are no options that are showing up already in our system. So I selected the three buttons on the side, and then what I'm going to do is type in other, and then select other, then okay. And then I can enter the name of my funding source. And then I'll indicate the specific type of funding that it is. And remember that all the questions with the red asterisks will require you to answer it. I'm going to attach the funding award here. And then I'll have to identify the investigator that's listed on the grant. And do the contents of the application differ from what's in the grant? For this example, no. If the funding had ended, or if this were a subsequent application, you're revising it, this is where you would select if the funding has ended. Since I only have one funding source, I'll select okay. Otherwise, if I had another funding source to add, I would select okay and add another. So my funding source is there. And so now I'm going to continue on. I'm going to take a second to pause and ask if Anya or more, if there are any questions in the chat that have not been answered. I'm sorry, I haven't been
No, we've been handling it. You're good.
Okay, thank you all so much. Okay, so we're going to continue on to the local study team members section of the application. And this is where you will add all of the personnel that will be working on the study. So for this instance, I'm going to add another investigator here. And then I'm going to, oops, that's the wrong person, but we'll add this as a research assistant, is the person involved in the informed consent process. So you'll notice these are the same questions that are asked in WebIRB, but just in a different format. Okay, so if I need to add other personnel, I can always click the OK and add another. But for now, I'm going to say this is the only person that I'm going to add to this study. I'm also going to say that I have other UCLA volunteers who will work on the study, who will rotate in and out. You can select that. And then if there are other outside collaborators, you can add them here. But since I noted that this is a single site study, then this question would not apply to this study, and I can continue on. All right, so now we're moving on to the study scope section of the application. This appeared because I accidentally selected continue twice, so it's letting me know that that the page I haven't answered all of the required questions in this page. So if you see red text, you'll note that certain questions have not been completed, and then you can always select this go to first error, and it will point you to the questions that do require you to answer. So this first question is asking whether the study will use an unapproved drug or a dietary supplement or approved drug. Yes. This question is also asking about a device, and I said this study is comparing a drug and a device, so I'm selecting yes for both of these questions here. Since this is a new study application, none of the above would apply, which is why I'm selecting none of the above. This study does not involve radiation, so I'm selecting that. This entire page pretty much collects information that will help the application be routed appropriately. So for example, in this next question, it's asking about whether scientific review was conducted by another agency or entity prior to submitting, or does scientific review need to be conducted? So if the study has received scientific review external to UCLA, so whether it's through the FDA, whether it's through your funding source, the JCCC, CTSI, you will indicate, or if you select other, for example, it will appear, another section will appear for you to indicate. So in this example, I'm going to select OK. Otherwise, this will route your application to the scientific review committee. This page also helps to route to other ancillary committees, such as radiation safety, for example. This is not cancer related. These questions also help the IRB to know which protocol supplements you should also have in your that you should also include with your application as well. We'll say this is a PI initiated study. The PI developed the protocol, but if you already have, if it was developed by an industry or corporation or another entity, then you would select the appropriate section. For the purposes of this application, we'll say that the study only involves adults. And then this question is asking whether you are utilizing any nurse time, effort, or resources. For this example, I will select yes. So right now, you'll see that only these sections are available, but once I continue, you will see that additional sections will appear. So now it's asking about research locations. So I'm going to indicate that the research will occur here at UCLA, but if your research is occurring somewhere else, you will indicate, of course, where will be required. And then this question is asking about whether you're using UCLA health system resources for your research. And so now we're coming up on the drug and device section. So these sections appeared based on my answers on the study scope page. And so similar to the funding, you would select add. And if you're if you know the name of the drug, or if it's available in our system, you can begin typing it in. If it's known, you can select it. These two sections are optional if they're available. And then if you want to upload your investigational brochure or package insert, you can upload that here. And so I will do that here. And since I'm only uploading one, I will select OK. And then select OK again because I'm done with this section. Did it upload? What happened here? Okay, upload. Okay. Okay, there we go. So now I've completed the information for the drug in this study, and now we will go and do the same thing for the device in the study. So of course, if you know the name, you can type it in. If you cannot find the device listed above, then you'll enter it in this section. So let's just assume that it is a drug that is not available in our system. It is not a humanitarian use device. And then I will attach any of the files related to the application. And since I only have one device, I will select OK. If I don't, I will select OK in another. And just like the other sections, if you need to change the name of the document, you can always change it. If you need to add a version number, you can do that as well. But the system will automatically add that there. So I'm done with the devices, and for some reason it didn't go through. So let's assume that it went through, and we'll continue on. Oh, it's not. Yes. Let's assume, oh, yes, an ID number. So then you'll add that in there. And we'll say that the investigator is the IDE holder, and then select OK. And then let's try to attach that file one more time. Okay, there we go. So now we have all our information for our device submitted, and then we can select continue. So the local site document section, this is where the majority of your documents for the study will be uploaded. So in this section, you'll have your consent form, your recruitment materials, and then you can attach other documents. So first we'll add in our consent form. Then we'll add our recruitment. Let's say we have a recruitment flyer. And then as far as the other attachments, so by clicking the question mark, so these are other supporting documents. So if you have documents that were not able to be uploaded anywhere else, or it wasn't befitting to add them anywhere else, you can always include them in this section there, and then just label them appropriately so the IRB will know what's going on. And this section will appear regardless. So if your study is not planning to access or use HIPAA covered records, you will select this first section, no, and then it will hide this other section if you're not, if HIPAA does not apply to your study. But if it does, then you will answer accordingly. So we're going to select this option since we plan to identify individuals through their records. And then you'll attest to all that apply. So please make sure you read each one before selecting them. And then if we're saying, since we said up here that we are accessing records to identify participants without authorization, this waiver section appears, so that we need to explain why the waiver is appropriate. And so you'll answer all the specific sections that apply to your study. So again, please make sure that you read each choice and select all those that are appropriate to your study. And then continuing on to the last section, so you'll notice that there are very few additional sections that appeared. And so with this form, you're going to basically answer everything that is applicable to your study here at UCLA. And also this information gets put, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So you'll indicate which department is conducting the research. And so again, you can select, you can type it in. If you can't find it, you can always utilize the three dots and then you can insert a new department. So this first question, this question here is asking about the how many participants you plan to enroll at UCLA and then across all sites, but since this is just one site, it's the same as the previous question. And then it's confirming whether this study involves drugs or devices or what type of intervention this is. If it's if it's not an intervention, you would just select this. And then you'll select the phase. If this is not a clinical trial, then you would select none of the above. And then if your study is registered on, if you are conducting a clinical trial and if it is registered, it's going to ask you to provide the registration number. But for this instance, we'll say that it is pending, and so you no longer see that question there. And then you'll indicate where study procedures and data collection will be performed. Select all that apply to your study.
Tiffany, can
And
I just
then,
make one point about the section? So
sure.
this section is for the purposes of UCLA Health and for determining like who in that entity would need to look at it, moving it into Encore, all this other stuff. So this has nothing to do with the IRB submission, but it is in our system. Just like previously we had questions for the health system in our application. So I bet you lost your train of thought, Tiffany, because this is
Yes.
content. Just so if you have
Thanks.
questions about this, we might be directing you this page. We'll probably be directing you to the CTSI in the future. So just be kind to us because they're not our questions.
Thank you so much, more. Yes, there's so many things firing off in my mind. I'm trying to make sure I give you all the information and not overload you as well. And so, continuing on with our last two questions in the application, this question is asking whether you'll be billed or whether you intend to bill participants for their procedures, and then use of CRMS. So. I can always go back and double check and see if I need to change anything and make sure that I've answered questions appropriately. But I'm going to say that we're all done with the application, and I'm going to um, select continue. Well, I'm going to go back to the last page so that then I can select continue. And so please read these instructions on the final page because there are additional steps that you will have to complete after you select finish. So once you select finish, it's going to perform a check of the application to make sure that you have answered all the questions appropriately or have answered all the required questions at least. So you'll select finish. And notice that the status here is still in pre-submission. So within BruinIRB, it's nice and helpful. You'll always know the status of your application. So remember, if you select finish, that doesn't mean your application is submitted. So if you want to know where your application is, you're like, oh, I selected finish a week ago and I haven't heard anything. Go back into your study and make sure your study is not still in pre-submission because you still need to select the submit button. So after you select finish, you'll need to select submit. And it's again, oh, it's telling me that this person doesn't have the appropriate city training. So that's a problem. And they also don't have the appropriate HIPAA training available. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier, that someone does not have the appropriate city training. They have an account, but they don't have the appropriate city training, then it won't allow you to submit your application. So now that I know that the person that I attempted to add does not have the appropriate training, I need to select OK. Is it not going to let me? Why is it not? Okay, so now I need to go back and edit the study, and I'm going to remove this person so that I can submit my application. Yes. All right. Now finish again. Now let's attempt to submit. All right, so now that the city issue is resolved and the test PI has all the training that is required to conduct this research, then I can select OK. Just as a note, if this person was added, so when I do attempt to add someone onto the study, say they do have valid training and they have a BruinIRB account, it's going to send each person that you add onto the study an email that is going to request them to ask them whether they agree to participate on this study, and it will also ask them conflict of interest information. So be aware and please notify, especially if you have a large study team where you're having 10 or 15 people added on to the study, please let them know to look out for that email, because your application will not route to the IRB until all individuals that are listed on the study have agreed to participate in the study. So now that I've submitted my study, I can see here under the history that my study is submitted. However, I still haven't completed my PI assurances, and you'll know this because it'll say PI assurances completed. No, you'll also see here that in the history that the PI assurances is not there. So after you submit, you also need to have the PI complete assurances. Make sure they read through the information here and attest, making sure that when they select agree that they are attesting to all the things on the assurances, and then you can select OK. And now you'll see that the PI assurance is completed here. It's here, but also note that the status of the study changed from pre-submission into pre-review. So notice that it's here. This means that it is in the hands of the IRB. If the study did require a review by the scientific review committee, you would see the status would say scientific review committee as a status, and then once the IRB receives it, if there were nothing that needed to go back to the PI, then your study would be in the pre-review state. So if the IRB has questions, or IRB staff will ask if there are revisions that need to be made or clarifications about anything, you will see that the state will change to clarification requested. So for the most part, anytime your study is in these bottom states, that means that there is action required for you. BruinIRB, just like WebIRB, will also send an email indicating that there is a request for clarifications, which then will prompt you to come back in and edit the study. If for some reason you just said, you know what, I've submitted the study on accident, I don't want it anymore, you would need to discard the study, but hopefully you don't need to do that. You also have the option to copy the submission if need be, but we'll have more information on navigating this page, your studies homepage, through quick guides and through videos, but we just wanted to give you a high level overview of the application and the application's requirements, and so you can see what that looked like. And so now I'm going to open the floor for any questions that were not asked during the chat feature. So please feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions.
Hi, my name is Barbara and I have a question. So I know this is not about Reliant IRBs, and but I worked on one in the last week or two with Gerard's help. And my question is, how come when I submit something in WebIRB, I also was copied on the email so I could see what happens, and vice versa, when I would send something to the IRB, the PI would see it. But with BruinIRB, we're not each copied on emails from the IRB. Is that going to get corrected at some point?
Rebecca, are you on the
I am. And in BruinIRB, yes, we are adjusting notifications so that they're copied to the PI proxy and steady contact. So
That'd be great. Yeah.
for phase 2, we should see that.
Yeah, that would be great because I'm getting it, she's getting it, and then she's sending it to me to make sure I got it. So
I think what happens, and the steady contact is always copied, but what you're not seeing is on the notice itself, it's directed to the PI with the steady contact not included. So that's why your PI is sending it to you. So you're already receiving that message, but you're just not listed on the notice. So
will that be corrected?
We have made note of that and are looking to. I don't know if it'll be corrected by the time we go live, but it's definitely something that has been reported and requested to be done and should be done soon after, if not at go live.
Great, I appreciate it. I'll let her know.
No problem. But again, just to clarify, PI, steady contact, and PI proxy are being copied on those emails. And Tiffany, if you can, do you have in the history, I'm not sure if you can show the history of the test study you have open, but anytime there's a notification change, like when there's a submission or where you do submitted, if you click on that history item, and click on submitted, the word submitted.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Click on submitted. And if you scroll down, it says email notifications, and it tells you here who received this email to confirm the submission and who was CC'd. So you can always click on any activity to see who was notified of that completed activity under email notifications.
Okay. Are there any other questions that we can hopefully ask for you now? I know it's difficult to conceptualize this when you don't have access to everything, but I'll reiterate again in case anyone came in late. This is just a high-level overview. We will do a repeat of this session in the future, and then of course we'll have a more official. We'll incorporate your feedback and questions into subsequent content. So if we need to update any quick guides or guidances or the content in the videos that will be provided to you, we'll take your feedback, any questions that you'll ask, so that we can try to incorporate that information into subsequent content. Let's see some.
Yeah, I have one more question, Tiffany. It's Sabine, and I'm wondering about the rotating members of the research team. So if we have fellows, we would still identify them by name and everything, and I believe it's item 1 or 2, and then in addition, we would click UCLA fellows, or would we just identify them by role?
So let me go back to that section. So if you have groups of people similar to in WebIRB, if you would indicate that with specific groups, so that if you have rotating groups of students or fellows or volunteers, you can indicate that here, and basically you're lumping them as groups. So these are rotating groups, so you're not submitting amendments for every 3 months or 6 months that you have a different rotating group. But for individuals who will be listed on the application, they are a part of the research team. They should be identified in this section. And then of course, if you do have individuals who are working on the study who are who are outside of UCLA, then you would need to indicate them here, and it will ask you to list them by name.
Okay, I think I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so groups of people, rotating groups of people here, main study personnel here, and then outside collaborators should be in this section.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? If not, or if something comes up later on after this session, we do have a feedback survey. As I mentioned earlier, we do appreciate your feedback, whether let us know that these are helpful for you, what additional information you would like us to include in these sessions, and also if you have any questions. It's a brief anonymous survey, so if you want to submit questions anonymously, you can, I just put in the chat the link to the OHRPP feedback survey. So feel free to include any questions that you had that did not get answered here or that you thought of after the session ended. We greatly appreciate that. And then as another reminder, please subscribe to OHRPP's YouTube channel. Because once this video is posted up, it will get posted up either today or tomorrow. You'll get notified of when they are posted. And then, of course, all subsequent trainings that we'll have. So as I mentioned before, we will have more official content. So once we incorporate your feedback and questions, we will have additional, more comprehensive videos available for you before BruinIRB Phase 2 launches. So that'll be available on our YouTube channel. And then our previous Learn at Lunch sessions that have been referenced. So I talked about the protocol, the OHRPP protocol templates and protocol supplement templates. That video is also on our page. Also the Learn at Lunch session on migration of studies. So if you missed any of our recent BruinIRB Learn at Lunch sessions, they are all available on our YouTube channel for you to access at your own time. So we appreciate you for that. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your questions and your feedback and all of your input, and most importantly, your patience. We greatly appreciate that. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, Tiffany.